Tuesday. Lewis is using little short tear-offs of masking tape to outline a certain dead animal on the carpet of the living room floor. It's to prove that it couldn't have happened, that she wouldn't have even fit right there. That's what he's telling himself. Anyway. He's got the couch shoved back, Petra's grandmother's antique coffee table pushed the other way. Peter's family is in Old Money, Great Falls. Not Falls Church, right? If you're great, then you falls. If you falls, then you church, right? GF, girlfriend, FC, fuck. Peter's family is in Old Money, Great Falls. Is there any such thing? But they've been hearing one way or another since about when the original reservation was staked out. She's in the garage with Harley on the nest of sleeping bags and blankets she pulled together for him when she walked home from the make-do park and ride 2 streets over. Found Lewis and Shannon and Eldon on the back porch drilling water into Harley's mouth. Jerry was gone in the truck, delivering Silas to the hospital, his face packed in towels. After they'd pulled away, Jerry driving easy, one hand on the wheel, the other keeping Silas upright, Eldon said it figured that a mailman would get it from a dog, right? After they pulled away, Jerry driving easy, one hand on the wheel, the other keeping Silas upright, Eldon said it figured that a mailman would get it from a dog, right? Right. According to Peta, who spent most of her childhood nursing dogs and cats and baby birds, Harley could still go either way. Silas was never in that kind of danger, though. Before he left, Lewis could see yellowy teeth through the flapped open cheek skin. Jerry says Lewis shouldn't hold it against Harley. He didn't know what he was doing. When the whole world hurts, you bite it, don't you? Harley's nest of sleeping bags and blankets were meant to be the insulation around the sweat lodge. Lewis had planned for the backyard, but screw it. Maybe they still will be, maybe next year, wrapped in heat and darkness and steam. Lewis would dip some water out of the bucket and tip a little out for Harley in memory of all that. You can do it for dogs the same as people, he's pretty sure. And if not, some old chief gonna step down out of the sky, slap his wrist. Lewis tears off another longish rectangle of masking tape, sticks it to the carpet in front of the couch, then peels it up and sticks it again, trying to get the slow turn down from the belly to the front of the back leg just right. Thing is, these restuck sections of tape all curl up after a few minutes, like retracting from the shape Lewis is forcing them to be part of. The rear hoof is just starting to come together when Pita steps back in with the dish rag over her shoulder, the bottle of goat milk in her hand, and for a slice of an instant she's a mom, tired from one in diapers, one hanging, one just balancing around on wobbly legs. But that's another life than this one, Lewis reminds himself. She doesn't want kids, was upfront about that even those first couple of weeks in East Glacier. Not because Lewis is Indian, but because she thinks her pre-Lewis self made enough fast decisions of the chemical variety that any kid she had would have to pay that tab. So they'd be starting out with the world stacked against them already. The headline kicks up in Lewis's head on automatic, straight out of the reservation. Not to the full blood to dilute bloodline. Not to full blood to dilute bloodline. He'd always expected if he married white. That he'd been prepping himself to deal with, because who knows, but full blood betrays every dead Indian before him. Full blood. But full blood betrays every dead Indian before him. It's the guilt of having some pristine native swimmers. They probably look like microscopic salmon, even though the Blackfeet are a horse tribe. It's the guilt of having those swimmers cocked and loaded, but never pushing them downstream. Meaning the few of his ancestors who made it through raids and plagues, massacres and genocide, diabetes and all the wobbly tired cars the rest of America was done with, those Indians may as well have just stood up into that big Gatling gun of history, right? Yeah. How's he? Lewis says, tipping his head to the garage. I think it's helping, Peter says, holding the goat milk up. According to one of the luggage guys at the airport, you can bring a parvo puppy back with goat milk. Harley's not that kind of sick, but if goat milk can keep a puppy alive when its insides are turning to slurry, then surely it can do something for a dog that spent most of yesterday dying and then coming back, right? It makes as much sense as anything. At some point, though, and Lewis hates this, at some point and soon, it's going to come down to a rifle and Harley's last walk or carry, whatever. It won't be because Harley was a bad dog, it'll be because he was the best dog. It'll have to be the same rifle from 10 years ago, too. He'll drive up to the reservation to brum it off Cassie. It's the one he used for that young cow elk. The cow elk he's tracing out on the carpet with 100 torn off pieces of masking tape. Need help, Peter says, about this little project. Any other person, any other woman, any other wife of a stupid husband who's trying to hide from his dying dog by outlining an elk on the living room floor in masking tape, she tells him to quit messing her house up, to quit wasting tape, to be sure and clean up every bit of that when he's done. Peter works her way down beside Lewis, takes the roll of tape, tears off squares, and holds them up on her fingertips for when he's ready. Her theory about what he saw is that the same way you can put lights on the spokes of a bike and they'll get into a picture at speed and hold that blurry glowing image, there must have been some random pattern of light and dark dust on the back of the fan blades. They produced a kind of blob in all that spinning, and Lewis just took it to his guilty place, that young place, about which he hasn't told her the whole story. She's vegetarian, and not for health reasons, but ethical ones. More nights than not, he's eating potatoes or tofu or beans. And that's fine. Every middle-aged Indian needs a diet exactly like this. So Peter would listen to the whole story, sure, and make the right noises, told her eyes in a way that meant she was getting it. But it would hurt her to hear it, and she'd have to go down to the high school, run around and around the track to try to stay ahead of that story. It's better not to tell her all of it than not to burden her with it. Scar her memory up. Who knows even? She might just stand up after hearing it, walk away, and not come back. 20 minutes later, maybe an hour, Lewis has the shape of the cow elk more or less roughed out. Emphasis on the rough. He stands to see it from higher up and has no clue how the bow and arrow Blackfeet did it back in the day. The horses they drew into ledgers or onto the sides of lodges weren't anatomically accurate. Neither this, but they did suggest a sort of intimacy with the shape, with the form. That's this masking tape elk doesn't even come close to. It's more like somebody told Lewis about an elk than that he ever saw one in real, actual life. Peter covers her mouth with her hand to keep from laughing, and Lewis has to Lewis has to smile as well. Looks like a 5-year-old tried to chase a giant sheep, doesn't it? He says while he was working on his third beer of the morning. Peter collapses onto the push-back couch, pulls her legs up under her, but the sheep kept kicking, trying to get away. Sheep don't know anything about art, Lewis says, and falls into the couch beside her. From this position, he, of course, ends up looking through the fan, from underside, and then at the little spotlight that's dead again, up there. It's a mystery he's resigned to never solving. Some lights you never figure out, and shouldn't even try to. What next, then? Peter asks. For maybe 30 seconds, Lewis doesn't answer, then, it's stupid, he finally says. What? Peter says, you mean like climbing up a shaky ladder alone in the middle of the day and almost cracking your head open? Point. After stopping to say hey to Harley, tell him that Eldon's covering the morning shift. And Lewis walks down the tall aluminum ladder around the side of the house again. It was here, Peter says, positioning the ladder just under the sky, just shy of directly under the fan. How can you tell? Lewis asks. To show, she pivots around to the other side, braces her feet wide to lower the ladder and down until the plastic cup at the top fits perfectly into the wedge slam into the wall on the other side of the living room. Oh, Lewis says, think we're getting the deposit back? Security deposits are overrated, Peter says back, and maybe she really is Indian, right? Wait, Lewis tells her and retreats to the garage, comes back from the test freezer with the trash bag that's gone through 6 rental houses and 1 never finished basement. It's maybe going to smell, but maybe not. We still have that, Peter says. Lewis tries to open the bag, but it's more like peeling a plastic tamale. The bag's so old. Inside, kind of making his heart swell, is the hide he promised that young elk to use someday. To make everything she went through worth it. The story he told Peter was that it was snowing thick, and she'd looked like a full-grown cow, not a teenager. That he never would have pulled the trigger if he'd seen her right. It's not a complete lie, it's not the complete truth either. Lewis swallows the memory down, gets back to whatever this is he's doing, recreating the scene of the crime? No, more like staging the accident all over again with, this time, props. Is it still? Peter asks about the tight bundle of rolled elk hide. Hair still on. Lewis shrugs. Doesn't know about the hide, if it's still all one piece or crumbly. It has a lot of nicks and holes. He knows because, first, he's a crap skinner, but second, that trading post knife he was using only held its edge for like 3 minutes. Should he saw it before unrolling it? Would the microwave work? Would he ever be able to eat anything warm in there again? I'll just, he says, and ceremonially sets the hide down in the middle of the masking tape. It looks like a fat, hairy burrito, and Lewis has to focus to keep from coughing, because that'll turn into a gag, and he doesn't want to be rude to her memory. That's probably good enough, Peter says, sitting back and eyeballing the hide, the tape, the whole setup. Well then, Lewis says, 1 foot already on the lowest rung, 1 hand up higher. The fan does the same speed, she asks. I haven't messed with it, she says. You? She shakes her head, no, nods for him to go, that she's watching. I was on this rung, he narrates, using his hand to touch where his foot was, and then he's going up. He waits until the spinning blades of the fan are at his chest again to look down through them, at Peter on the couch, at a dead elk made of masking tape, with a hairy burrito for a good sack. Maybe it's the light, Peter says, and unfolds from the couch back into the edge of the living room where she was standing when Lewis started his big slow motion fall. Am I making a shadow? She calls up to him. She turns the hall light on and off behind her, keeping her feet in the same place. You had a bag, Lewis tells her, still holding on to the chance that this might work, that there might be an explanation. Okay, she says, not as confident in this bag possibility as he is. But all the same, she bounces into the kitchen to do one up. While she's gone, Lewis looks over the top of the fan at the gouge the ladder left in the wall of the living room, the new wound in the house, moving there like an after image, like it was left behind, just trying to creep past without being seen. He is 90% sure that there's the shadow of a person up against that wall, a thin shadow, just for a flicker of a moment, a woman with a head that's not human. It's too heavy, too long. When it turns as if to fix him in its wide-set eyes, he raises his hand to block her vision, to hide. But it's too late. It's been too late for 10 years already, ever since he pulled that trigger.